And welcome back to Agribusiness with Dr. G. We're going to pick up right where we left off. In the previous video, we showed you the change in producer and consumer surplus resulting from a non-recourse marketing loan. And we're going to redraw our diagram, and we're going to add one more individual or group of individuals to our welfare analysis. Let's get started. I can redraw these all day. I've got these memorized. I can redraw them till the end of time. Hopefully I can use more of the space of the screen this time. Quantity, price, corn, got to label the market, that's important. Downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, where this is our starting price, P1. We have the higher price that some policymaker feels that the farmer should get for their crop. We have the quantity supplied coming off the supply curve. We have the quantity demanded coming off of the demand curve. We have this green area here, that is the change in the producer surplus. This is the gain that the producer got from this policy. And remember, a change in producer surplus is exactly equal to a change in profit. This is more profit for our corn farmers. Gonna switch colors. Got this area here, which is our loss to our consumers, our change in the consumer surplus, where the two overlap. Let me highlight that a little bit more, make sure it's really clear for you. All right, this is our overlap. Okay. All right, exciting. What now? Well, here's the thing. In the discussion we just had, where we made the argument that there was an area that was a net gain to our society, this triangle right here, we said this area was a gain, where the producers gained so much that we can, in theory, compensate the consumers for their loss. We left somebody out of our story. And here's what happened. In order to support that higher price, the net effect of this non-recourse marketing loan is that the government becomes a buyer of last resort. This non-recourse marketing loan is basically a tool that the government can use to buy up surplus grain and then use the fact that they're out there on the market buying up the surplus grain in order to support the price of the grain up to the loan rate. Again, the story behind the non-recourse marketing loan. You go out and plant your crop. We give you a marketing loan around harvest time of PL per bushel that you grew. You sell your corn. If you don't make enough money to sell the loan back, we don't come after you for the difference. That's the basic idea. And if you haven't sold your corn and you can't get rid of the corn, the government basically repossesses your corn and you end up walking away with PL as the price of your corn. You don't mind this. You're in effect selling it for a higher price. It doesn't matter to you if the government buys it or someone else. You're just getting a better price for the corn, so you should be happy with that. So basically the government has to buy up this grain in order to make this process happen. Government money is not free. It comes from someplace. So the government ends up having to buy up grain in order to make this pricing scheme work. And here's, the joke I always make. You can always tell if the economist that you're learning from is a conservative or a liberal based on how they explain things like this. A conservative will say that the taxpayer is the one who bought this, and the liberal will say that the government bought this. And the reality is that they're both right. The government taxes the taxpayer and uses the taxpayer money to put in the treasury, and then the government treasury has to go out and spend it on whatever. And so the taxpayer / government has to spend money to make this happen. The only way to make this work is for them to buy up the surplus. And if you'll remember, the surplus is this distance here, the difference between the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded. And so they're going to buy every one of those bushels of corn, and they're going to buy it at the loan rate, which means they're going to pay this much for it. So we end up with this big red rectangle. And that red rectangle, the red rectangle, okay, the government / taxpayer has to spend that money, okay? So that entire red rectangle is now a negative. This is a net loss to society. That's money that someone had to spend that would not have been spent if it weren't for this policy, money that would have been spent on something else. Maybe it would have been a tax break. Maybe it would have been a road. It would have had something else done with it. And so what we actually end up with, and let me see if I can draw this in a way that it's easy for you to see. It's pretty hard to see this. Shush, shush, buddy. You'll be okay. Here, he's throwing a fit. He's ready to, I don't know what he wants. Okay. Okay. I gotta finish drawing this design real quick here. You gotta wait. Okay. Maybe he's nervous because I'm talking. Hi, buddy. It's okay. You can wait a minute. I'm trying to teach. Silly dog. Can you see him? He's a goofball. Yeah. All right, off, 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 off. Sit, sit, stay, stay. Let's see if he behaves. Let me shade in this area here. Let's use this kind of light purple. I guess it's lavender. This entire area here, this lavender area. This entire space right here is, after you account for the positive space here, the net loss to our society. So the lavender space is the change in welfare, and it is less than 0. It is a negative number. So what we have here is a policy that causes this big loss in welfare. And the reason why it causes the big loss in welfare is because it takes a pretty large infusion of taxpayer money to pull this off. And when we first started trying this kind of stuff back during the Great Depression, society at the time, I mean, it was debatable. There was a lot of debate about it, but the end conclusion at the time was that it was something we had to do because things were really rough during the Great Depression. Now, times have changed since then, and the political viability of an idea like this has diminished. And for good reason, because this is terribly inefficient. So now the question becomes, is there a way to help the farmer out in a way that is less inefficient? Is there a way to do this so that we can give the farmer the higher price that normative economics we've decided they need, through some political process we've decided? Is there a way to give the farmer a higher price without doing all of this collateral economic damage? Is there a way to do this and not do it in a way that's so inefficient? And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at next. We're going to kind of step through different ways of doing this to talk about ways to compensate for the inefficiency that this creates. Before we do that, we're going to do an example with some actual math. This video has droned on for way too long, so I'm going to shut it off right here, and we will catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching.